Hey guys, welcome back to the Champions Podcast with myself, Champ Squires, and
Heather McCoy.
today we're going to do an episode all about gratitude. And gratitude is something that I pray and hope that you see on our faces constantly. I know that we kind of touched on this a little bit, like literally for about a second, a smidge of a second in the first episode, and I even went so far to say thank you, Brandon Lake, for the song. But today we're going to talk about it a little more in depth. We're going to not only share just kind of what does gratitude mean to each of us, but also when you think about gratitude, what brings you gratitude, what brings you joy, and how do you exemplify that to the rest of the world? As I think about it today, I want to start with Heather. She's going to talk about what is gratitude to her and those sorts of things. But Heather, as we kind of talk about it and begin the journey of sharing about it, we know that this week is your one day this week is your birthday, correct? And so what does that look like for you? And I know that life and joy and just the gratitude and the thankfulness of life is such a meaningful part of your story and just who you are as a person. So what does that look like for you?
Growing up with cystic fibrosis, for those that don't know, every single day is a victory that you're alive. But being able to turn another year older, I know that so many people look at growing older as a negative thing, getting gray hair, your knees may pop, or all the things that they say about getting older. But honestly, it's such a joyful time for anyone with cystic fibrosis. And I believe even if you don't have CF, you should always be thankful for another year. You embrace each year
Mm.
that you're given this precious life. And everybody goes through chapters in life. And so every single year, I've had so much gratitude just for being here, another year alive, another year to celebrate, another year to be with my loved ones and just living life. And so Tuesday is my 33rd birthday, and it
Yeah.
sounds weird to say, but I'm so excited about it at the same time, especially being that I've gone through two double lung transplants in the last 13 years. And then now to have a recent kidney transplant in April, it just puts emphasis on being able to celebrate life on Tuesday. And obviously, I celebrate it every single day, every hour of the day. But being able to just say, I'm here, I made
Mm.
it, here
So
for the year.
share with me a little bit, because let's go back a little deeper into your story. Because correct me if I'm wrong, and she will. But if I remember correctly, when we were growing up, or at least I was told, is when we were growing up that like if a person had cystic fibrosis CF, it was very uncommon or very common for them to maybe make it into their teens, but that was even at that time, the further you got to your teens, it was like, wow, she kind of passed that milestone, and then she passed that milestone, and then she passed that milestone. Is that a correct estimation of how things were kind of projected at that time and how they've
Yeah,
transpired for you?
the way CF works is there's several mutations, and you could have 20 CF people in a clinic, and everybody's at a different stage.
Mm.
Just because somebody passed at 5 years old doesn't mean the next person's going to pass at five. So everybody, I really didn't start making CF friends because we weren't allowed to be near each other because of cross bug contamination, bugs meaning lung infections that CF people have that are not contagious to the public, but they're contagious to other CF individuals. And so it wasn't until I went to my transplant stuff that I started making friends, which is a whole game changer, just having people that can understand. But I have so many friends that are adults now, and we are just so blown away that even here as an adult. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have a really, really hard time growing up because I have the mutation double delta 508, and I've always had a severe case of CF, and I know so many others do as well.
Mm.
But now with all the advancements, the hope is that the new generation that are younger babies and younger adolescents, that they won't have to experience some of the stuff that we have. And that doesn't mean that there's a cure. There is not a cure. Transplant is not a cure. I obviously still have CF people. It's in my genes. It ain't going nowhere. But transplant allows you to be able to have extended life where my CF lungs, my original lungs, they were done. They were done. And so was my kidney. And so Uh, I say kidney, but kidneys are done. I have one new beautiful kidney now from a donor, but I always had it rough with infections and lung function, and I have to take digestive enzymes when I eat to be able to digest my food. So there's so many things to CF, and I mean I could spend all day saying what is required to be able to have maintenance for CF, but I just feel so much gratitude for where I am because I know where I've been. And there were some really dark times that I didn't know if that was the end. Because to be honest, Champ talked about meeting milestones.
Mm.
And when I passed 10 years old, that was
Mm.
a milestone. When I was able to say I was 16, that was my time. And it just kept going. And I look back and I think there were so many times that I didn't know if I was going to make it. My friends and family didn't know if I was going to make it. But I do believe I'm here for a reason. And I do hope that the younger generation doesn't have to go through what we have. But there is modulators. But I want it understood that the modulators is just a pill that people take every day. It does not take CF away. It just manages symptoms.
Mm.
And the hope is that eventually they will be able to manage the symptoms. However, with transplant individuals, it doesn't do quite the effect that it does in people that have not been transplanted. And so, yeah, there's so many advancements, and I just say, hey, maybe I was the lab rat, as they say, for some of these things that are coming out.
Mm.
So I kind of feel a little bit of pride there because me and my friends were through clinical trials and on stuff that we were excited when it passed the FDA. But like I said, it's just a gratitude for life, and it's not just me. Like I've seen Champ go through so much tremendously difficult challenges. Like I went to see him one time in the hospital after he had one of his surgeries, and I've seen this man like as a child when he couldn't hardly walk at all. And then seeing, even his speech has improved, his walking, as he says, he can't, he's the cripple, as he call it. But, you know, he's come so far. He really has. And I think everybody that has known him his whole life to see what he's doing now,
Mm.
people say, wow, he
Mm.
did the dang thing.
Well, I so and I want to be very clear. I just we Heather and I often talk about we don't see when I look at Heather, I don't automatically see CF. When she looks at me, she doesn't automatically see the cerebral palsy or the physical limitations. And we may be getting off the point of gratitude, but I think today we're just going to go at it. We're going to go wherever we go. And one of the things that I've noticed when I talk about not seeing Heather as the one with CF, there are, there are physical. elements or attributes to someone who has CF. You can kind of see it sometimes in their face, see it in the shape of their face, and so when I look at Heather, and the reason I bring this out is because when I look at Heather, I don't just see those things. I mean, I did growing up, but now that we've kind of grown up and crossed milestones, I see more of, wow, I don't see her as this, yeah. Like I don't see every birthday is, I don't want to say it's not a milestone, it is, but it's another year that she gets to share and to do life with people. And so I'm not watching the time clock of Heather's life. I'm just waiting to see what she's gonna do next. And I think even though I don't deal with the life expectancy issue that you do, I think we both see it in that respect. We both want to see what's the next thing that person's gonna do. What's the next thing they're gonna say, or the next book that they're gonna write, or the next sermon that they're gonna preach. What's the next thing? And as I think about your 33rd birthday, this coming week, what is something that you're gonna take from that, or that you're looking forward to, that's gonna bring you that joy, the gratitude, and just kind of put it all back into perspective?
Well, I'm getting to do something that is, if anybody that knows me, I'm a huge Carrie Underwood fan. So I got approved to go to her fan club party in Nashville, which is on my birthday, Tuesday. And so I'll be able to go there. And Carrie has been such a positive impact on my life. She was my make-a-wish when I was 14, and I've been to several things since. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And I know to some they may say, well, what's so big about going to an artist fan club party? Well, it's because when I sit there, I know I fought so hard to get back there. I know that I'm getting to do something joyful. It's
Mhm.
not just hospitals and doctors and the gritty stuff of having a chronic illness, but it's getting to do something joyful. And I always say this, discussed about not seeing CF and CP in each other. It definitely doesn't define us. We own it. And I think that's so important for anyone that deals with something, whether it's an illness or disability. Own it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. CF obviously is a huge part of my life because it's my DNA. However, I don't let that be the sole thing about me.
Mhm.
I'm proud to be an advocate. I'm proud to share my story, but there's so many other parts to me. And one of those is I love live music. I love getting to go and do things because a lot of my life was in isolation because of CF. And so I still obviously have to be careful with germs. That's always going to be a thing. But just getting to go and live and do something for the day besides sitting at home and saying, man, I wish I could do that. And I think with anybody, not just a CF person, but anyone, if you have the chance to be able to go and do anything, take that chance. Even if it's going out and walking in the park, just take that chance to go out and get fresh air and to look up at this beautiful sky and God's creations around you. I mean, just getting out of the house and doing something to say, "Hey, I'm alive." I mean, it's just so important for everyone. And I know some people are obviously housebound. I totally understand that. But you don't necessarily have to go outside in order to be thankful and enjoy life. But I'm just so ecstatic. I know it doesn't seem that way, but inside I'm jumping for joy that I get to celebrate another birthday and another year and do something that I want to do. Because people, it has been a long 3 years with this kidney thing, waiting for a new beautiful kidney, and now I have it, and now I can finally do something I want to do.
Mhm. And I think about you said you talking about going to this fan club with Carrie. I can remember. Y'all have to understand, off camera and off of the shows, we Heather and I have deep conversations, not only just about these kinds of things, like we talk like this, but I can remember those moments when the kidney was beginning to shut down, collapse on you, and just wondering, okay, what's going to be the next thing? And I remember watching you as you kind of went through the tail end of the kidney, collapsing on you, and just thinking, how much longer? How much longer? Because you could see it in your face, you could hear it in your voice, your spirit had kind of been choked a little bit. Lack of good terms, but it really had it. It had been choked. And then just watching you get this kidney, and it's the funniest thing because on the morning that you shared that you had gotten the call about the kidney, never once did it cross my mind that you would have any complications. I knew you wouldn't. It was like I just knew that you were going to go through this procedure and it was going to go smoothly, and you were going to come out with this kind of resolve to let's go, um, kind of with the champion fight fist of let's just do this thing. And to watch you now is like, oh my gosh, there were those days when we wondered how much longer before that that side of Heather is going to be able to come back out and come back full force. And so I'm excited for you for that.
And
So
it's funny you mentioned about my spirit because I do feel like obviously I was still Heather, but once I got that life changing call, it was like I could breathe easy again.
Mhm.
I felt like okay, it's gonna be fine. And the anesthesiologist in the operating room actually said, "Gosh, you're one of the most chill patients I've ever had." And I was like, "Well, after you've been through two double lung transplants, this is nothing. Like I'm ready to go. Like let's get started." But I think it's important, and I say this all the time because obviously you mentioned life expectancy. I've had to live with that my entire life over my head. And it does change your perspective on things and the way you live. But I say that I don't have to have 80 years to feel fulfilled. I don't have to have 80 years to
Mhm.
live life.
Mhm.
And of course, nobody knows when their time is. But I always say that I know I'm not going to live till 80. It's just a fact. It's not being negative, it's just being realistic. That doesn't happen in the CF world. However, I'm using the time that I do have wisely. And I think that is so important for anyone to don't focus on, well, how many days may I have left? How many days do I have now? And what am I going to do in those days to live wisely? And so that's how I live my life. And I know that we're talking a lot about this, but we want people to understand who me and Champ are and just how we go about our perspectives because we've had to deal with things that a lot of people our age have not had to deal with. I mean, on my side of things, I've had to deal with the pains and the joys and the grief and everything that comes with CF. I've lost a lot of people that were my friends, and it does something to your brain when you know that you have the same thing, but it doesn't affect the way I live because in a way I live harder. I love harder. I'm so driven because I want to be the best I can. When my day comes one day, I want people to say, she didn't let nothing stop her. She did everything she set out to do. And I believe honestly that when I was going to school, my dream was being a physician assistant. I actually wanted to be a doctor, then I said physician assistant. And then things changed. It just didn't look ideal for my situation with what I was going through and transplant. And I said, you know, God, I'm gonna let you tell me what I ought to do. And
Mm.
he told me I should be an exercise physiologist and change my major and do exercise and sports science. And I loved it. And I had someone tell me once, well, you changed your dream. I said, no, let me correct you. I didn't change a dream because I gave up on it. I
Mm.
changed a dream because God redirected me in what I was supposed to do. And I totally believe that right now I'm doing exactly what He set out for me to do.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
I have no regrets. I have no questions about that. I know actually, I'm doing more than I even thought I could do back years ago. Because when I go to write a bio for something, I'm like this, and this, and this, and this. And it's not that I'm trying to have an ego at all. It's just I'm trying to show people whether you have an illness or disability or just a average person with no health challenges, that it is possible to live a life and do things despite challenges. It is possible to still have a good mindset. It is possible to wake up with positivity. It is possible to do things. It's all about what you set your mind to doing and saying, hey, I'm not going to let anyone or anything stop me from my goals.
I I know that people that watch this one will probably watch it, and there will be some, don't know how many, but there will be some that will look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, she smiled the whole time she was sharing that." He even smiled as she talked about her challenges. And please understand, I am not being disrespectful. I am not, because I understand it. I'm smiling because that's the kind of life that I want somebody else to get. Like, it doesn't matter if you, let me put it to you this way. It doesn't matter if you're standing in front of something or in front of somebody, and that person or that thing or that circumstance or that place gets taken away from you. You know where your joy comes from. You know what gives you that sense of life. Um, Earlier this week, we knew that Phil Robertson passed away, the Duck Dynasty Duck Commander, and I sat there and watched it. And he, just like Billy Graham said, "When I die, don't cry for me. Like, don't cry for me." And I've never heard Heather say that, and I may be putting words in her mouth right now, but I would even go so far as to say that, when her number or her life is called from this earth, I'm gonna grieve in the sense of I'm gonna miss that physical person being able to call and have these sorts of conversation with, or share these stupid stories of what I've tried to do next or what she's thinking about doing next. But I'm not gonna weep for the things that she, for the simple fact that she's gone. I'm gonna weep tears of joy because, first of all, she's never going to have to deal with CF again. She's never going to have to deal with stopping to catch her breath. I mean, and I do that literally just to prove to you how much we take that for granted. She's never going to have to do that again. And if I go at some point, or when I do,
Be running in heaven. I already know.
yeah, I
I've
just
seen
that's
that
what
Walker, Texas.
that that is the sense of joy that I get. Like that, and that's because of Jesus. Let's just be real. Um,
And I've always told people that obviously I want to live as long as I can live, right? But I think when that time does come, I say I have the best of both worlds. And I know people say, well, my gosh, you live with that. How do you have the best of both worlds? And I say that because I get to live life.
Mm,
And this is all I've ever known. I haven't known a life where I don't have the challenges.
mm,
But when I do go be with Jesus,
mm,
that's another best of both worlds. Actually, it's even better world, right? And so we talk about this to say it's obviously okay to be scared of passing, or it's okay to talk about these things because we want people to know wherever you are in your life, you can
yeah.
have that joy. And I
Yeah.
know that some people are sad. I know some people are going through some tremendously difficult things. And believe me, when we smile, we're not being oblivious to hardships or thinking that nothing is wrong in the world.
Mm,
But we also live with that joy to say it's another day.
mm,
It's another day and another day of opportunities, and
mm,
we don't take anything for granted. And that's why we stress that so much, is because I truly believe that the reason me and Champ have gotten this far in life is because of our attitude.
mm,
Because if we were bitter and we had this bad mindset going through life, we probably wouldn't be where we are. We
mm,
wouldn't have the joy we do about life. And I wish I could give everybody that. I really do, because I know some people struggle with it. But I wish that I could just pour out the love and the joy from my heart to give to other people, because when you're able to live in that kind of way, it just changes your whole perspective. And as I said the last episode, it's not about what happens to you and being able to control that, because obviously there's some things in life we have no control over, but it's about how you respond to that.
mm.
And so I just choose to respond with joy and with, I have a situation right now where one of my friends is at the end,
Mm.
and I'm being strong for our friend group. It doesn't mean that I'm not sad and grieving, but that's just my mentality. I've always said, hey, I'm the superhero of my own story.
I love that. I love that. I think that our time is slowly kind of coming to a close. And so we weren't planning to do this, but I feel like we're probably going to do a two-part for this because I let Heather talk a lot about her side of the story. And so for me, I think the next episode is going to be how do I find gratitude and where are the places that I look for joy and fulfillment and peace and just the life of freedom, honestly. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a two-part. She kind of shared a lot of her story around the idea of gratitude and joy. And so next, she'll take it from there and then she'll kind of ask the question. So I hope you'll come back next week and join us for that. But is there anything else you want to say in closure from your perspective?
I think if you have the chance to live life, live it and live it well. And I really am looking forward to Champ's answers, because I love the way he thinks sometimes. And I
Sometimes.
perspective on life as well. And I think you will really enjoy hearing from him. And as we said, we can talk all day. We love topics like this that we can just share our heart. But we hope that the listeners will be able to listen to these episodes and think about what brings them joy. How can they improve? How, if they're not living totally joyful, how can they take the steps to start having more gratitude? And I say all the time, people shouldn't complain about life. I know some people say, how can you say that? But it's true. There's so many people that take things for granted, and we shouldn't. And so, yes, stay tuned for Champ and we're going to give him the mic for the whole episode.
Oh, goodness.
Thank
Y'all
y'all.
take care and join us next week for part two.
Yes, God bless you.
Bless.